Stop attributing moral value to your food. That is diet culture. Know that there is another way. Okay, my friends, today we are going to be talking about diet culture, what it is, and how to overcome it. So if you are new here, my name is Saska. I am a personal trainer. I've also done a certificate in plant-based nutrition, and I studied commerce at university, majoring in finance and marketing. But I am by no means a dietitian or a nutritionist. So with everything I say, take it with a grain of salt. If you need personalized advice, I highly recommend going and seeing a registered dietitian or nutritionist that can give you personalized advice, because here we are just talking generally about diet culture and how to overcome it in a generalized sense. So every single person is different. If you are going through internal struggles with your relationship with food, I highly recommend seeking out help and talking to someone who has expertise in that field and can really help you on a personalized basis, and that knows your history, that knows who you are, you know, your height, weight, age. Advice changes based on your unique situation. So if you are seeking advice online for your circumstance, I highly recommend actually making an appointment with a registered dietitian and going and talking to them in real life or on Zoom or whatever it is, so that you can get that personalized advice. But let's jump straight into what is diet culture. So diet culture is a set of values and beliefs that values thinness over health. It values shrinking your physical form over well-being. So being as thin as you can, having as low body fat percentage as you can over actually being healthy. And this comes in a wide range of forms. It's in TV shows, it's in movies, it's in products, it's in the way we talk about our own bodies and about other people's bodies. It's in diets. Like, oh my gosh, if there is anything that you can do wrong with your eating, then you are on a diet and you are some way in that diet culture. So things like keto, low calorie diets. I even found recently this one diet called an egg diet where you only eat eggs, and I was like, oh, don't. Things like juice cleanses, carb-free diets, eating no processed foods whatsoever, eating no sugar whatsoever. All of these things are a form of diet culture. And even if you think that you're being healthy, a lot of the time, it could actually be diet culture. So my personal belief, and the belief that I think a lot of people that have overcome this diet culture would agree with, is that everything in moderation is okay. Yes, there are some foods that maybe are more nutritionally dense than others. For example, like spinach is probably going to be more nutritionally dense than a deep fried potato chip. But that doesn't mean one food is good or bad. But that is what diet culture says. Diet culture says that one food is good, the other food is bad. One food you should have lots of, the other food you should avoid entirely. That is diet culture. And that is not what I believe at all. But here I want to share that there is another way, and there is a way to overcome it, because I fully understand it can be really hard to identify what is diet culture. And you know, there's so many influencers out there that promote a certain way of eating that could be detrimental for other people. Just because something works for one person does not mean it's going to work for you and for a lot of other people, because there's something called bio-individuality, which means that all of our bodies are different. And that's why I said at the start of the video, if you need personalized advice, you really need to go see a registered health professional in the field that you're looking into, because they can give you that personalized advice. Someone on the internet who's posting about what they eat or posting about a certain diet, they are not they really shouldn't be giving that advice to a general population, because so many of us are very impressionable, especially young women. I myself have been there. You see these influencers or these products, you know, this diet culture image that's portrayed in TV and movies, and you take that in subconsciously and you think that's normal and you think that's what health is, but in reality, it's not. And in reality, it can get you into these horrible cycles, which I was in myself when I was younger, where I would restrict what I'm eating to such a small amount of food that then I would get so hungry and then end up eating, you know, a lot of food because I restricted myself so much. And that's that whole binge restrict cycle, which, I mean, I could probably do a whole video on that. But Now that I've explained a little bit about what diet culture is and the fact that I don't agree with diet culture, and I believe that it's really important to have everything in moderation and to not attribute moral value to foods, let's go on to how can you actually overcome diet culture. So the first step, like with anything, is to consciously recognize it. So you can't make change if you don't recognize the problem. So think about, is this diet culture? Am I on a diet right now? You know, something that I found in a TED Talk, which I will link down below, is that if there is something you can do wrong, then you are on a diet. So if you can't eat more than X grams of carbs per day, that's a diet. If you have to avoid all packaged foods, that is a diet. Like, I'm not saying packaged foods and highly processed foods are really good for you, but there's a difference between completely cutting out things and just having a little bit less of them. If you're on a diet, that's one thing. Or if you are commenting negatively on other people's appearance, that's also a form of diet culture. If you're watching a movie or a TV show and you realize they are being negative or derogatory or bullying someone that has a little bit more body fat on them, like, just consciously realize that. And that is the first step in overcoming diet culture, because you are aware of this set of beliefs that you don't connect with anymore. So step number 2 is to call it out. So if you are with your friend, maybe you're going for a walk, grabbing a coffee, and they're telling you about this new fad diet that they're going on so that they can lose 5 kilograms to look good for summer, call them out. Tell them that that isn't necessarily the way, that there's another way to live a healthy lifestyle that doesn't include restriction and dieting. For a very long time now, I have promoted that being healthy is a lifestyle. It's not a quick fix. You can't just go on a crash diet and then call yourself healthy. Healthy is having a positive relationship with food. Being healthy is exercising for enjoyment, not for punishment. Being healthy is getting a good amount of sleep and drinking lots of water so that you feel energized and you feel happy and healthy in your body, but also in your mind. So yeah, call out if you see diet culture, but be kind about it as well. Like, no one likes someone who just says, points a finger and says, that's diet culture. Like, that's not what you're gonna do, because that's, causing shame on people, which again is not great. And shame is often attributed to diet culture as well, like shame with food or shame with the way you look. So we don't want to cause shame or cause anyone any pain, but just in a kind way, maybe calling out that you think that might be diet culture, and maybe do a little bit of research on how you can have a more sustainable, healthy lifestyle rather than going on crash diets. Also, if you're watching a movie and someone points out that someone is overweight, or someone points out that someone's super skinny, maybe you could say something like, why don't we talk about their internal attributes rather than their external attributes, or just something like that. Like, there are lots of ways to call out someone without being rude or without being super negative. But I do think calling out diet culture is really important, and it doesn't have to be to your friend. It could just be in your own brain. Like, if you don't want to actually say it to someone else, at least say it in your own brain. Like, recognize it, call it out to yourself so that you are consciously aware of that diet culture pattern and where it's happening. So number 3 is to opt out. So opt out of diet culture. Don't buy the products that you have recognized are a part of that diet culture industry. So if you used to buy a certain like fat burner product or something like that, and you have now recognized that that is a diet culture product, opt out. Don't buy it. Don't subscribe to it. Like, if you follow maybe an influencer that is promoting a certain diet or a certain way of eating that you recognize is actually a part of diet culture, you can just unfollow them. As simple as that. It's easy, and you have the power there to opt out.
So in this next section, I'm just going to talk about some general tips to help navigate and overcome diet culture.
So don't comment on other people's bodies or food choices. I think this one is really, really important. When I was growing up, so often people would comment on other people's bodies, on their food choices, and often you can have a really detrimental impact. Like, I often found, like, if I ate a big meal, someone would say, ooh, like, you're eating a lot. And then I would think, oh, maybe I shouldn't eat so much then. When in reality, like, my body was hungry, it needed the food, and I was so right in eating whatever I needed in that moment. But when people make these comments about how much you eat or even how little you eat, like that can have a significant impact on a person. So instead of commenting on someone's body or their food choices, comment on their personality. Like say something about them as a person, that they are shining bright with their beautiful smile, or that they are so energetic and smart and kind. Like there are a lot more things to compliment someone on than just their appearance or what they're eating. So that's a very important one as well to note in yourself. And also, I mean, you also have the option to educate others on doing this as well. Move away from the all or nothing mentality. The all or nothing mentality is that one where, you know, if you have one biscuit, you just say, oh, I'm gonna eat the whole packet now. Or if you have, you know, one unhealthy snack in the morning, you just think, oh, okay, well now it's a whole unhealthy day or a whole cheat day. I hate the word cheat day, by the way. I never use it. I think you are so allowed to eat whatever you want, but know that you don't have to eat like 10 million portions of it. Like you can have one portion of it and be satisfied. And I think that mentality really goes away when you stop restricting. I found when I was going through that restrictive cycle, I would say, like, if I, you know, fell off the bandwagon, then I would just, you know, keep going like that for the rest of the day. Whereas once you stop restricting, you realize that if you have one, you know, not so healthy food, that doesn't mean that the rest of your day is gone. Like that doesn't mean that you are now having a bad day. Like you can eat something that's not super nutritionally dense and then, you know, the rest of the day eat a normal diet. Or like you don't have to punish yourself for having one big meal. Like often in the past, like if I knew that I was going out for dinner, I would like try to not eat so much during the day because I knew I was going out for a big dinner. But now I just eat normally. Like you need to listen to your body, and that is one of the main things that is super important. I could do another video on intuitive eating because that's something I'm also quite passionate about. But yes, move away from the all or nothing mentality, because that will help you move away from that restrict and binge cycle. When you can have a little bit of something that you might have deemed, you know, unhealthy before, and you don't have to eat all of it, that's just so good because it gives you so much freedom. Like you can eat anything, but you know that you don't need to eat all of it. Like you can just have a little bit of it, enjoy it, and then move on with your day. Like it's so powerful once you let go of this all or nothing mentality. That whole binge restrict cycle can really keep you trapped for a very long time, but it doesn't have to be that way. Life does not have to be that way. So yeah, know that there is another way. And this kind of flows on to the next point, which is stop attributing moral value to your foods. So stop saying that one thing is good for you and one thing is bad. Stop saying that you need to completely cut out one food group and only eat another one. Like all foods can be eaten in moderation. And I think that is something that's super, super important for you to fully grasp. Like for so long, even once I thought that I'd healed my relationship with food, I would still say that I don't eat this. Like for example, I don't eat sugar. And like, it's just such a restrictive mindset to have, and it makes you think that, you know, if there is a piece of cake that has sugar in it, that you can't have it. That whole mentality of like not allowing yourself something often makes you want it even more. And so yeah, it's just so important to not attribute a moral value to food. All food can be enjoyed. All food can be enjoyed. I think that's something really important to say to yourself and to fully realize, because yeah, once you stop attributing moral value to food, you allow yourself to relax. And you know, something that actually promotes weight gain is having high levels of cortisol and high stress in your body. So if you are constantly stressing, being anxious about food, that's not going to help you lose fat if that's your goal. Like, yeah, it's just, you know, you just have to relax. Eat what your body needs. Eat what your body craves. Like, listen to your hunger cues. Listen to your body. Give it what it needs. And don't restrict yourself, please, because that is what diet culture is just based on. It's based on restriction. It's based on, you know, valuing thinness over health. But for our health, we need to eat because we need nutrients to sustain our body and to be our best selves and to have enough energy to do all the things we want to do in our day. Like, our body requires energy. Our body requires energy when we're just at rest, not doing anything. If you're lying on a bed all day, you still need a certain amount of calories, which is your basal metabolic rate. And this is going to be different for every single person. That's why I don't really like talking about calories, because literally every single person is different and needs a different amount of calories to sustain them in any given day. And this also fluctuates. Like if you do a little bit more walking in a day, you're going to need a bit more calories that day. And that's why it's so important to listen to your hunger cues, because they are going to change. Some days, if you're just sitting around studying all day, you won't feel as hungry and you won't need as much energy. But if on another day you go for like a 2-hour-long hike with your friends, like you're obviously going to need more energy, more food in your body during that day. So yes, listening to your body is so important. And yeah, just don't prescribe to diet culture. Like, I think something that's really important and something that I've thought for a long time is that everything we truly need is inside of us. Like, we are so smart. Our bodies are doing so much that we are not even conscious of while we just rest. Like, we have these divinely created bodies that are so smart. And once you tune into that, you're gonna feel so much more freedom with your food and so much more freedom with your body. Listen to your body. Like, do you feel like you need to go for a walk? Do you feel like you need to do some stretching? Like, often your body will actually be able to tell you if you tune into it. And another way to do that is by getting into meditation, and that's something that I've recently gotten into and I am loving it. I just feel like when I meditate, I become more in tune with my body and I fully realize what it needs in that moment. Like, I was meditating this morning and I realized that I felt really stiff and tight, and so then I did a little bit of yoga afterwards and I felt so much better. But maybe if I hadn't have done that meditation and I'd just gone straight into making breakfast and then doing work, I wouldn't have ended up doing that yoga. So yeah, that was a bit of a tangent, but basically diet culture is so apparent. I'm actually going to create another couple of videos on some different examples of diet culture, because I think it's really important to recognize those examples. As I said, one of the first steps is recognizing and being consciously aware of diet culture, because then you can call it out, then you can opt out. If you don't actually recognize it, you can't do those other steps. So I am going to create another video on that, so stay tuned for that. But I hope you enjoyed this first video on diet culture. I will leave a couple of links below of some resources that I used to make this video and that I found really educational and helpful on the topic of diet culture. There was an amazing TED talk that I watched, and there was a really good infographic and document that just talks a bit about diet culture and how it negatively impacts people, especially teenagers. So I'll link those down below. I hope you have an amazing day. I hope you are safe and well. Sending lots of love, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye!